You know, we heard from George Abernathy, the president of Emerge, and from Andrew Leto yesterday, the CEO and founder of Emerge, and we're just going to keep on rolling with our next guest. We've got Jake Papa, who's the senior vice president of Enterprise over at Emerge. So, Jake, thank you for being with us today. It's great to have you.
Appreciate you having me out here today. You guys got me in the sun here, so
I know. It's that early morning coming through. It's not ideal, but it's okay. We'll make it work.
You shine like a star.
There we go. Exactly.
So, Jake, thank you for joining us. And as I mentioned, we've had a couple of people on from Emerge so far on the main stage. Give us your thoughts about what George and Andrew said yesterday, how they kind of brought Emerge to the front stage.
Definitely. So obviously we're hyper-focused on procurement. So, how shippers go to bid, why they go to bid, how long they go to bid, et cetera. And that's really our main focus with Emerge, is making that as easy as possible for both the shippers and, of course, their carriers and broker partners that are participating.
And Jay, can you talk about the new aspects coming to Emerge? What's new with benchmarking? What's new with your company? What can we get excited about here?
Yeah, so that kind of going off that procurement layer there, benchmarking of looking at your historical rates, how you're doing compared to others within your industries, et cetera, looking at your previous historical rates and then kind of benchmarking that against what's happening, and being able to take events, mini bids, annual bids, et cetera, from those benchmarking is really what we're building out right now.
And exciting things coming from the RFP platform as well at Emerge. If you're not on the conference Wi-Fi, that password is Emerge RFP. So obviously it's something that matters, right? Talk to us a little bit about those product enhancements.
Definitely. So apologize for anyone that couldn't get on the Wi-Fi. There were some issues yesterday on that side of it. But yeah, really, our whole focus is the RFP. So whether that's a single transaction or your annual RFP and everything in between, hyper-focusing on that and being able to, not only reinvent the RFP, because that's really what we're trying to think of as the new way to do RFPs, but then be able to manage it from there.
And Jake, what are some of the biggest things that benchmarking and shippers are really being able to use it for? What are going to be some of the questions that they're answering? What are going to be some of the aspects that they're really being able to utilize it for?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things for shippers is being able to look at kind of how they're managing compared to other shippers within their networks and outside of that. So being able to look at that, and then when they go to bid, figure out, am I getting the best price that's out there? Is there other carriers and brokers that can participate through there? So being able to kind of manage all that through one system, and then getting them off Excel files, out of email, out of phone calls, and into a platform is the biggest thing.
I feel like sometimes this industry has a lot of people who speak for the shipper, right? You don't see a lot of shippers coming to events like this and sitting down and talking about going, these are my pain points. This is what sucks about this. This is where I have the hardest time getting my freight moved, right? And part of our job is to suss out those pain points and to help them figure that out. What type of feedback do you guys hear from the shippers when it comes to this Emerge RFP platform? And how does that then help you speak for them and make those changes for them?
Well, all shippers are shooting to be shipper of choice, correct? That's what they continuously say over and over again. And whether that's the ease of use to work with them, if it's they have clean restrooms for drivers when they show up at their facilities, et cetera, and everything in between. So we're really empowering them from a procurement standpoint to be able to manage that and be able to expand their current carrier network accordingly as they'd like to do that.
And Jay, can you touch on how shippers are able to use this in order to really kind of see if, potentially their rates are competitive and how they're kind of placed in the market?
Yeah, so obviously on our benchmarking side, you can look at that and be able to see kind of how they're compared to others. And then if they decide to go to bid, if they decide to extend rates, if they decide to, whatever they want to move forward with, they can do that through the system itself.
Awesome.
In the last 2 years, as far as the freight cycles go, were obviously just nutso. They were crazy. And that's led to a lot of change in the way that shippers are bidding in those bid cycles, the way that they use those now. Can you talk about how those have evolved in the last 2 years, and then how they evolve and how the Emerge platform evolves to fit those changing bid cycles?
Yeah, most definitely. So, pre-COVID, the annual bid cycle was a large thing. So you'd be able to go to bid in fall, publish your rates, start January 1st or February 1st, and kind of have that annual type model. That's really changed as of late, and we see shippers doing not only quarterly bids, but monthly bids and seasonal bids to be able to kind of fill the gap for all of that. So, the annual bid is still a necessity for a lot of shippers and pretty much all shippers to manage portions of their business, but then be able to have more frequent bidding events is, keeping them a good pulse and kind of where their network's at and getting the best possible price.
And Jake, real quick, when you're talking about this shift, this change with bids, things like that, are there any other trends that you're watching that have been significantly changed, or any other factors over the last maybe 18 or so months?
I mean, even in the last 3 months, the spot market's been chaos.
Yeah.
So, we see, I was on site with a shipper a couple weeks ago to where they were seeing spot prices drop up to 50 cents a mile compared to what it was in January. So, being able to play the spot market when it makes sense, be able to go to bid when it makes sense, and have key indicators of when to do those two events is the biggest thing that Emerge is offering.
I think that's a really interesting point to bring up, especially when we're talking about pricing power and the way that things have swung literally in just the last 3 months or so. For those last 18 months, the carrier was in charge of everything, and now we have these shippers kind of taking the reins back and saying, you know what, no, it's my time, we're back in my saddle.
Correct.
Can you talk about how this mindset shift kind of correlates with now this change in the market and the downswing, I would say, that we're on, and then how that changes the strategy, how that changes shippers' use of platforms like Emerge?
Yeah, so some shippers right now are trying to take advantage of it as fast as they can because they know they've been overpaying the last few years, and being able to jump in and say, all right, let's go rebid everything right now and get the lowest possible rates. Others aren't quite doing that. They're kind of thinking, let's test the waters, maybe run a mini bid on some of our hard to move freight and see kind of what can come through that side of it. So it really depends on the size of the shipper, kind of how they go to market, and then the consistency they have. If they're running mostly dedicated and contractual freight on that side of it, they might not want to mess their entire network up and go change their drop trailer pools and do all of that. So if you can take advantage of spot market and tools like Emerge to go run mini bids, definitely do that, and then be able to expand from there.
And one of the other things that I kind of pick on everyone's minds from time to time is on, we're seeing, like you mentioned, these bid cycles, some of the variations in that. What are going to be some of the things that have shifted, have changed, that you see is like, this is just going to be the way of life moving forward?
Yeah, the duration cycle, obviously, being able to run more bids faster and be able to replicate bids on a monthly cycle or biannual cycle, things like that has changed a lot. Obviously, as the markets continue to change, shippers want to be able to kind of take advantage where they can, and carriers and brokers on the other side want to be able to take advantage where they can. So it's kind of an ebb and flow on that piece of the business.
And then wrapping up here just a little bit, talking about kind of the size of these shippers and how that kind of fits into their usage of the Emerge platform. Who sees the most benefit from it? And is there benefit if you are a smaller to medium shipper who's just looking for a little bit of help?
No, definitely. I mean, Emerge started with small to medium-sized shippers, and we expanded to the enterprise group. So, really any shape and size of shipper that comes to our platform is able to take advantage of both the spot market and the contract market. Obviously, the larger the shipper you are, the better buying power generally you have, so they can take advantage quicker. But there's really no shape and size that can't utilize the Emerge platform.
And what are you most excited about over the next 12, 15 months here?
Oh, that's a loaded question.
Yeah.
We'll kind of see how summer goes. With the congestion at the ports and everything that's happening through China, there's a lot of things happening that a little bit out of our control.
Right.
But it's been exciting. Obviously, this year up to date has been a little bit of controlled chaos.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll kind of see what the next few months do.
Is there any chance of you guys giving us George Abernathy back? Because we miss him. We miss him at FreightWaves. We miss his kicks. He has really, really great shoe game. For you guys who don't know, he's got really, really great shoe game. We miss him. Give him back to us.
I report directly to George, and there's not another human being on earth I'd rather report to. That's for sure. So.
Well, Jake, thank you so much for joining us. If people want to reach out, learn a little bit more, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, we got our booth here, so please come by the booth, and we have a pretty good crew out here, so feel free to jump in, and we'll have some conversations.
And I've got to pick your brain before we let you go. Best piece of conference swag that you see out here on the floor?
Ooh, the best? Honestly, we have little charging stations at our booth, if you've seen those or not. So if you got an iPhone or Android, we got a little charging station, you put it on, don't you have to plug it in? So
there you go.
Kind of hard to beat that.
The touchless one?
It's
you just
exactly.
Those are so cool.
I know,
love
come on
those.
over.
I'm going to have to go steal one before we're done.
That's clutch. Thank you so much for joining us.
Definitely, really appreciate it today. Definitely.
Absolutely. So Jake Papa from Emerge, great to have him with us as well.